And we're live. It's Whiskey Watches Wheels. And gentlemen, it's been one of those weeks. But before we get that, introduce yourselves.
I'm Casey.
And I'm James.
And I am the phenomenal Matt Green. And for those listening or watching on the YouTubes, we are down a man tonight. Kevin had some business to attend to, and so we are going to dredge on without him. Had a very surreal experience today, guys. And I hope you guys can appreciate this. So I stopped this morning to grab me a Monster energy drink at 7-Eleven. And I grabbed my energy drink and I'm standing in line. And all of a sudden, this guy taps me on the shoulder and he goes, "Hey, are you on a podcast?" And
Are you shitting me?
I swear to God, if I'm lying, I'm dying. And I said, "Well, yeah." And he goes, "Are you the phenomenal Matt Green?" He said it just like that. And I thought, I honestly thought he was fucking punking me, right? I thought I'm like,
Did you look around?
I'm like, what?
Who put you up to this?
It's like 6:30 in the morning, right? And I said, and I'm like, well, yes, I am. And he goes, "Dude, my name's Chad. I listen to your podcast."
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
I said, "You've got to be shitting me." I said, you're the guy, right? You're the one? Well, I think we know 5. Yeah. And he goes, "No, seriously, I listen every week. It's freaking awesome, you know." So we had a really good conversation. We sat there literally for like 15 minutes. He was wearing a 6'2" Moss, you know, so he showed me his watch and everything.
Really?
And,
awesome.
And yeah, he starts pulling out his phone and showing me some other stuff that he had and everything. And I was saying how he's always wanted to maybe like dabble around with making his own watch and was getting some inspiration. So it was a very cool encounter.
This is actually my favorite story we've had on here.
It literally was it was so random. I mean, okay,
it wasn't like he was clipping his toenails or anything. And
no,
typically that's what winds up happening.
That's what I was expecting, James, is to get like some like no tooth woman asking him to go out back for $10 or something.
No doubt, right? So I mean, listen, we have well, I'm gonna say this term very, very loosely, but fans, you know, guys that listen to the show come up to us at, you know, different events and everything, and that's cool because that's in a setting you expect maybe to run into somebody who might recognize you, whatever, you know. But at a random 7-Eleven in Orlando at 6:30 in the morning was not what I was expecting on a Wednesday morning. It was a very cool experience. Yeah. So Chad, thank you very much.
Yes, I appreciate that. Now, was this a repro 62 Moss or a full-on legit 62 Moss?
It was a legit 62 Moss.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
That's
awesome. It wasn't a reproduction. It was a legit 62 Moss.
Please,
they had some other cool stuff.
Chad, please reach out if you're looking to get rid of that watch.
There you go.
You got 4 people on here that would be interested in that.
Yeah. So very, very cool dude. And so I appreciate you saying hello. And he told me he'd hit me up. I told him to let me know sometime. We'll grab a beer.
So essentially, 8 out of the 10 listeners have now approached us.
Yeah, exactly. We're almost there, man. So it's very cool encounter. But we're gonna have a fun topic tonight. James threw up in our little group chat that we have about kind of a thing. You know, hey, listen, if you had one watch, or you could only have one watch and one car for the rest of your life, what would it be? And it was very stressful. I really had, it was very, I'm not joking. I have an hour commute each way. I spent a lot of windshield time, not as much as Casey, but a lot. And I racked my brain for about 3 days and changed my mind 15 different times. Mm-hmm. And so it was a very stressful kind of exercise, but fun nonetheless. So who wants to get started?
I'm probably the most boring on this one. And I thought about this today while I was running. I had to drive out to Roanoke the other day, and I was thinking about it then too, but mine's pretty, I think, easy and straightforward. And
can we guess?
You can try. Yeah, try. Go for a guess.
Well, based on your love for the Cayennes and that it does everything for you, I'm going with the Cayenne.
It's close.
So I am not going to go with the Cayenne, only because I think Porsche would have been an easy out, and he didn't choose a Porsche because of that. So I'm going to go with Subaru Outback.
I am not a lesbian.
No.
No.
Not there's anything wrong with that.
No.
So I did take the easy route. I do love Porsches, but I went with the Panamera. And I
Oh,
think that if you were to allow me to have only one car, a Panamera Turbo would really fit the bill. You put a rooftop on there, you've got tons of cargo capacity. I know this thing probably, the early ones maybe that did not have PDK, maybe you can get away with towing something of a weight. I don't know what their hitch rating is. But with the air suspension, you can at least tow some stuff. It does have 4 seats, which I would never use, but you can put them down. It'll hold enough totes for me to go to work, and then you can get busy in these things too, right? They handle well. The turbo's got plenty of power.
you mean
And
going to the drive-in?
yes, that kind of busy too. Plenty of room in the back.
Yeah.
So I think that car I would be able to do. I thought about a lot of different wagons, and while I've never actually owned a wagon, the Panamera will likely be my next work vehicle.
Nice.
But I do like the kind of resurgence of wagons. The Audi's got their awesome wagon that I think. No, I'm thinking of the Mercedes. They're sending one over. The some
Plus the
AMG
new
6.
M5 wagon.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
isn't it funny how cyclical things are? Right.
Yep.
So Americans, they hate wagons. Then all of a sudden they stop producing them and selling them here. And then wait, let's
Hey.
reintroduce something.
Yeah.
I have always loved hatchbacks and always loved wagons, and I've had multiple
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
hatchbacks. And honestly, if I didn't have a fleet vehicle given to me by my job, and I had to have a do-it-all vehicle, I would be driving a wagon now. I love them. I think they're great.
And I really did think about, like, all right, if I wasn't doing the exact job that I have now where I have to carry things around, maybe I could have pushed down and, fit that bill with the 911, which would be a daily dream for me to be able to drive something like that. But I did take it, like, if I had to make that choice today, what would actually fit that bill, and I could only do it. I think that makes sense. Secondly, the watch side. I think this one, you all probably could guess this one. I bought it recently. I do think it's a do-all watch. You can dress it up with a, with a pretty, like an oyster band. You can do a Jubilee band. You can do a NATO band. You can do lots of different bands. It still looks good. You don't have to worry about what you're wearing, where you're wearing it. It'll kind of go with anything.
For any occasion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 007. I would
Yeah.
choose 007, but 009 here is an obvious choice as well. I just don't think you can go wrong with this watch. It's affordable. There's parts if you break something that won't break your wallet if you had to replace it. You got lots of different band options. As I said, dress it up, dress it down. You can go swimming. You can go work in the backyard. You can go to the track. You can do whatever you need to do in this watch. It's never going to fail you, and the price of it is reasonable. And while I would like to say that I would love to wear a Rolex every day, but in my job, that's a little too flashy, too much. And I think this watch kind of does all that for me.
Well, I think that's a killer choice, and that was essentially the top of my head choice, right? Since I've had that watch for a really long time, and it can do anything. And what's really interesting is if you switch out the band, how it stands out.
Sure.
I've had so many people come up to me wearing the 007 just because I had a cool NATO on it, and they're like, "Oh my God, what is that watch?"
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So great choice. And, I think that watch is like a cockroach. You can't kill it.
Yeah. I
No,
think so.
you can't. And it's still keeping good time now that it's demagnetized?
That one wasn't having the trouble. It was the sonar.
Yeah. Okay. That's right.
Okay. Well,
so yeah, my 007.
I'm glad that I switched mine, because then it would have been a super quick conversation. Same. Next.
Yeah, exactly. James, you want to go next, or you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll go. I'll go. All right, because you said that you've really sweat over this for quite a while.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take you guys down a thought process with mine.
Okay, all right. Let's see here. So, I too thought about this long and hard for 10 minutes. Regarding,
I took days on this.
Starting the car, right? So obviously this would have been the first choice for me, would be a 991.2 manual GT3. But realistically,
now let me ask you a question. Why 991.2? Why not a 992?
So because I don't like the 992.
Why?
There's just, I don't like the tech. I don't like the interior. I don't like the rear end. It's just personal choice.
Yeah.
And coming from a 991S to go to this with the 9,000 RPMs, it's just kind of my own personal pinnacle, right?
Okay. All right.
So something to aspire to, maybe down the road. Who knows what the next generation is? I know that the 992.2 GT3 came out in the last few days, and that looks pretty sweet. But there's just maybe a little bit more personal attachment to this, right? So when I first heard that the 9,000 RPMs, I was just like, that is what I want, right? But realistically, you can't do everything. Like you said, Casey, you can't throw the dogs in the back, right? You can't do any of that. You can't work out of this car.
It does carry a rooftop box really well.
Yeah, it does. Or a Christmas tree, as we find out every November and December.
Yeah, right. I mean, I've traveled with mine quite a bit with rooftop box, and it is amazing how much the frunk and a rooftop box will hold.
Oh yeah, it's definitely good for a weekend, right? You can do a weekend trip without issue on it, but as far as every day with the roads that we all have and such, I don't know. So, but my choice would be a Macan GTS.
There you go.
I would think that you guys could have guessed this, but for me, I'm like to zip into traffic. I don't think I can do that with a Cayenne, but
you'd be surprised.
Yeah, my Macan, the S I have now is a lot of fun, but I've driven the GTS and it is certainly next level as far as performance goes. And I think that would be the one for me that could do everything. You could throw the mulch in the back. You could throw the dogs in the back. You can do whatever you need to do.
You remember at the brewery at Amelia, was it like a dark purple or something? Purpley.
It was purple. Yes.
Yeah, like that plum.
That was dropped low and had a rooftop box on it. I tell you what, man, that you can easily fit 4 people and their luggage in a rooftop and the trunk and be on your way. I agree that that's a hell of a kind of do it all, especially if you treat it more like a car and drop it. I think it looked amazing. And you're right, the power of the GTS, performance of the GTS is kind of that.
It's top notch, and it handles great. It looks great. So yeah, maybe a little bit too obvious for me, but that's what I went with.
And we're talking gasoline GTS. Not the electric.
Correct. Yeah, Did I really need to define that? I'm not sure.
You have to remember, you're not going to be an e-hybrid because this is something that you want to keep for life, and that battery's not going to last life.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, as far as the watch goes, I'm not super flashy. I like my Seikos and everything, but for me, here's a couple more Macans. Yeah, Macans. Rolex Explorer 2. Polar, with the white,
white ceramic, bezel.
Yep. So the Polar Explorer, this one here is from '89, so it's a reference 16570. So it has the red, 24-hour hand instead of the orange. But I would take that one.
Yeah, and similar to the 007, man. You can throw a bunch of different bands on that and dress it up, dress it down, and it's kind of at home.
Yeah.
Anywhere and everywhere.
Well, similar to the Explorer 2, I think, is a nice sports watch, but it's the non-flex Rolex. That's the way I approach it. I don't want to be shouty with it, but I just love this watch. So at some point, hopefully this year, I'll be tracking one of these down.
Well, you can get those for really modest prices too. I mean, perhaps perhaps the tariffs will change a little bit of that, but they're not, or they have not been that expensive of a watch.
No, I mean on the used market, you can get them sub 10 grand.
Right. You're
well
probably
below.
looking
Yeah,
at
I've seen them as low as 7.
a sweet spot of 8K,
Right.
but new is I think 15. So I don't know.
Now, is that the Explorer 2 or the Explorer?
This is the Explorer 2.
Okay, and which
That's
is
the
the one that I
Explorer.
prefer. Yeah, I prefer the Explorer 2 over the Explorer.
So
yeah, it's a good call.
But that was it. You know, I have an Explorer, which, you know, that was my first Rolex purchase, and that is certainly low key for sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to shout. And so I think the Explorer 2 would be a nice pair, and I'd be good forever.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So I had difficulty with this. Maybe it's just me. My heart is always in Porsche, and I'm like, okay, I would love to drive a 911 every day for the rest of my life because it would be freaking awesome. But the reality is I have kids, and at some point I'm going to have grandkids and stuff, and that's just not practical when it's going to be your do it all one car for life. And I'm like, okay, well, I can get a Macan or a Cayenne. I'm like, no. So, and I love everything. So then I'm like, okay, this is the part where Kevin goes, Matt, shut up. No, I'm keep going. He's not here. So I immediately went to my JDM roots. I'm like, you know what I'm going to get? I'm going to pull from the mid 2000s a Subaru. All right, a Subaru. Oh shit, it's the XT. It's the what's the SUV? I had it in my brain earlier.
Wait, you didn't write this stuff down?
No, I didn't write it down because I literally it's changed 15 times. So anyway, Subaru little SUV made their XT model was basically a WRX in an SUV body.
Forester?
Okay? Forester, yes, Forester XT. So the Forester XT from the mid 2000s was basically literally a WRX. You could put STI parts on it. When they're lowered a little bit, it doesn't look, it's not big like an SUV normally would be. You could even get them in a manual if you wanted.
It's definitely a wagon.
Yeah, it's a wagonish, right? I'm like, all right, I'm going to go that route. Then I'm like, you know what? Fuck. The interiors are really shit.
You were like, man, I'm married. There's no way that I can drive this vehicle.
No, I'm just like, the interiors are not that great. And I'm like, all right, okay, never mind. WRX. WRX has nicer interiors and it's still good. STI, I'll get that. And then I'm like, yeah, I really am a German guy, though. I really like German.
Old man in the WRX, I don't know.
So then I've said it on this podcast 15 times. I'll continue to say it.
GTI.
Best car is a GTI. And then I'm like, you know what? I don't want front wheel drive. So you know what? Okay.
Wow.
Golf
Matt's
R.
mind.
I'm like, all right, Golf R. I'm going to get so up until literally an hour before this podcast, I had photos, I had everything for the Golf R. Golf R was it. All right. Not the Mark 8, Mark 7, because again, I don't want a bunch of haptic feedback buttons. I wanted real buttons because I got to live with it. So I'm going to Mark 7, Golf R, 300 horsepower, 290 something horsepower, 208 foot-pound of torque. All right. 0 to 60, 4.5 seconds. Golf R for the win. Done. And then like, it's going to be too small. It's not big enough. So I landed on, all right.
Drum roll.
Casey alluded to it.
Yes.
RS6 Avant.
There you go.
So still in the family. It's an Audi RS6 Avant wagon. This car is just beautiful. It's the right size. It'll do everything. It's just a gorgeous car. Not in love with all the crazy screens and tech because that's going to date itself after time and I'm living this thing for life. But the only thing it didn't have, the Golf R was a manual. Because yes, I would daily a manual every day and live with it the rest of my life. But so this has got obviously a PDK, DSG, dual clutch, whatever Audi calls their stuff. But still, just absolutely beautiful car.
Yeah, that's a great choice, and obviously very similar to mine. So yep. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
So how big is it? Is this a full size? Because I know what's the A4? That's tiny.
Yeah, I don't know enough about Audi's platform sharing. I don't know if this is on the Panamera platform or not, but it's about the same size as a Panamera.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's that size.
It's sharp. It's sharp.
Yeah, so
I know that's a
4-liter twin turbo V8, 621 horsepower.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Tiptronic automatic, quattro all-wheel drive. 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds. I mean, that'll make me a happy person.
Yeah.
It's a hefty girl, 5,000 pounds.
5,000 pounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, did you budget accordingly for the tire wear?
Yeah.
All I'm saying is when I had to drive the Cayenne down to wherever the hell we were, the Dragon.
Yeah.
Like you can tell how tall and heavy that thing is, but I think if you were to drop it down and have a proper sporty suspension and not just like airbag with the hard or sport mode on, I think you could do just fine. Is it going to make you as happy as it would in our 911 or Cayman or Boxster, whatever? Absolutely not. Or give me a Miata or an S2000, whatever. No, it'll never be that. But it was a blast. And with the panoramic roof open, and you're hearing the exhaust reverberating off the trees and off the rocks, like it's still a fabulous time.
It's the vibe, man. It's all about the vibe.
So last year, I guess right around this time last year, we went to Luftwasser up in Brevard, North Carolina, which is a Porsche event. Afterwards, we went for a drive with a group out of Charlotte, and that was a story in itself. But a group of us, 3 of us, broke off, right? And it was an RS America 964. Then it was my SC, and then behind was this guy in a Cayenne, right? His wife's Cayenne, because his GT3 was in the shop, and the guy ripped. Every time I looked up in my rear view, he was on my ass going through all these twisties in that Cayenne. So they are capable. It's the amount of roll that you're able to put up with, I guess.
Correct. Yeah, and that's the thing is now I had Ashley with me, so the can't push it quite as fast when she's in the car. Her belly doesn't handle it very well. But it does roll a lot. But you give me any sort of straight stretch and I will make up some ground, because that fucking V8 with, what might come with stock 500, and it's got a tune on it. So 600, 550, 600, whatever it is now. And that thing will rip down a straight line. And that's why it's so great on the interstate for me, because I spend so much time just cruising, 80 miles an hour, and I need to get by a big line of traffic. You drop it to 4th gear and you will just smoke anything and everybody in your way. So I do think it's capable. It's just a wagon, I think, in that scenario is a much better choice.
Well, with that lower center of gravity, you're going to have a bit more fun. And, let's be real here. That wagon, either one of those wagons can fit just as much shit as an SUV.
100%. Yeah. I like wagons better than I do SUVs. Like I'm rocking a Dodge Durango now, and it's a great vehicle. And I'm pleasantly surprised on this Dodge that I have now. It's got the exact same motor in it that the Ram had, but because it's an SUV, a little lighter weight, and I think it's just geared differently, it is significantly faster than the Ram was.
Yes.
Was that Audi have some kind of a tow package? It looks too sporty for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't tow anything anyway, so I don't care.
You can't tow with dual clutch.
No.
They haven't figured that out yet. So the OG Panameras had the same transmission as the Cayennes do. So it's like the Tiptronic 8-speed, or mine's a 6-speed, whatever. But
I think the Macan would be fine. The Macan would be fine to pull air cooled behind it. So
100%.
They're dual clutch though, aren't they?
I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I can try to search here.
But they do come with tow hooks if you get the tow package. So
yeah, but I
don't know if that's some kind of
that. Well, 4,400 pounds is what the Macan 2025 says it can tow.
Okay.
So if you went
aluminum 2,600.
Yeah. So if you went with aluminum trailer, you can make
fine.
it. I probably wouldn't want to do it every day just because of that short wheelbase. But
exactly.
If it's got the rating, then I'd go for it.
Yeah. Well, the reality is, if it's rated at that, then you can probably get 1,000 pounds over that. Right. That's just what they rate it for.
Well, if you talk about how many rallies, you'd wind up using that thing 5 times a year.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Which that would be worth it for me if I can haul that stuff around as opposed to putting the miles on the SC.
Yeah.
I got driving to Florida in the SC with no AC, it can get a little dicey.
Yeah, driving to Florida in the Macan would be a much different trip than it would be in the SE.
Get this. So the diesel Panamera, which they produced back in 14, same engine that's in my wife's Cayenne.
Yeah.
It's the same towing capacity, 5,700 pounds.
Really?
There you go.
Wow. There you go. I like the Panamera a lot, and I almost had that on my list in the very beginning because let's face facts. You want something similar to a 911, but you want to call people Panamera. It's an easy choice.
Yeah.
But then I'm
It
like,
didn't cross my mind. It didn't cross my mind at all.
Really?
Although
it did mine, but it was too easy.
The rear seats are buckets.
Yeah.
They're heavily bolstered.
They're heavily bolstered, and I would have gone with the Panamera Gran Turismo because it's the full wagon.
Yes.
Instead of the slope on the back. I like the body lines better.
Yeah.
Cool. So on the watch front, listen, I could have easily picked any version of a Rolex GMT or sub and been a happy boy, but that was just too easy. Yeah. So then I'm going through the Rolodex of watches in my brain, and I'm looking at Seikos and this and that. And I said, at the end of the day, the watch that has always spoken to me the best and watch I love out of all my watches is my Speedmaster. But
Matt, I got you pegged.
Snoopy.
Yes, but
Snoopy
here's
Speedmaster.
The thing. Speedmaster's only got a 50-meter water resistance. It's not really designed to get super wet. And this is a watch I'm going to have for the rest of my life.
You're really big on scuba diving.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am certified scuba diving. I haven't gone in years, but I live in Florida. So
he's a reverend. He's a doctor.
Yes.
And he's a diver.
Next best thing, I went with the Seamaster.
Oh,
okay.
So Omega Seamaster Chrono. Again, beautiful watch. It's a watch that you can dress it up, dress it down, put a NATO on it. It's fine for the weekends or whatever, but leave a steel band on it, and it's great for boardroom, whatever. You can use it pretty much anywhere. And it's just a great watch. This particular one here, I liked it with the chrono, the way it's laid out. 12-hour counter sub, 30-minute marker. Let's see here. 41 millimeters, 300 meters of water resistance, sapphire crystal. So everything you expect out of an Omega, but yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think that actually is very similar to what I try to be somewhat realistic when I look at these things or what I own, but my second choice would be a Rolex Deep Sea.
Yep.
I
honestly thought that's where you're going. I thought you've always wanted one of those, and I really thought that's where you were going to land.
It's but as an everyday watch, it's big, like it's thick.
It is heavy.
It's a heavy watch, but again, as James stated about the Explorer, it's an understated watch. Yeah. Right? Like it's not flashy. It doesn't have a bunch of dials, it's a big watch, but you can dress it up, dress it down.
Yeah. What I like about those, it's one of those, if you know type of things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I just like the look of chronos. Honestly, I never use the functions hardly ever of a chrono. I just like the aesthetics of them. I mean, even today I'm wearing my Seiko solar timer, and it's great. So speed timer.
Well, I thought maybe one of us would grab, a Daytona or something along those lines, but I think
I'm not a fan of the Daytona.
What I liked about our choices is we applied our kind of how we live as opposed to the way we would think we would live in the future, right?
Correct.
So it's like, okay, I need to be a little bit more practical, but have some fun. So what should I pick? As opposed to inspired on this topic by, they asked all the F1 drivers the same exact questions. Mm-hmm. And the shit they came back with was stuff that you would never have access to, or we'd be working a lifetime to be able to afford, $2 million Mercedes, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And
Crazy.
it wasn't real life. So I like how we actually did a spin on it and flipped it and applied it.
Yeah, without even talking about it. It's
right.
just the way we all think. Yeah.
So I got a question for you guys. All right. So taking the same logic, not cars, because I think we all know our answer on the car, but if you were to have to pick out of your current watch collection, one watch that you're going to keep, which one would it be?
Mine's an easy choice just because of sentimental value, but I'd keep the Rado ceramic that my dad was passed on to me after my
Okay.
dad's passing. Yeah.
That's easy. That's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
I don't have anything like that. My dad wasn't a watch guy at all. My grandfather wasn't
Funny
either.
enough, my dad was not either. This is the only watch the man
Really?
I think ever
Wow.
owned.
I think my dad has a gold Timex. That's about the only thing I've ever seen him wear. So, and at that point it was so tiny, like you couldn't even really wear it now, right?
Yeah.
So
You got to look way down close
Yeah.
to it.
yeah, oh gosh, for me, maybe the Kakume or the Bullhead. I just think
Ooh,
those
the
are such
Bullhead.
iconic
Yep.
Seiko watches that every new Seiko collector wants.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think those are the two that I would. Well, if it was I'd have to come down, flip for one, I guess.
There you go. Yeah.
But I maybe I'll go with the Bullhead just because it is so different than everything else. So I'll go with that Seiko Bullhead.
So for me, although I had always my entire life aspired to own a new Speedmaster, and I finally met that, that wouldn't be the one that I keep. For me, it would probably be my Tag Aqua Racer, only because that was something that me and Stacy got for our 20-year wedding anniversary. But even beyond that, it was the first quote unquote luxury watch that I was able to really afford when I started making decent money. And so there was a couple, so it's like the first really nice watch that I ever had. And so that for me, that's, it's not the nicest one now, but I still wear it all the time and I love it. And it's very much like that Omega Seamaster. It does everything. It's a heavy, chunky watch and you can dress it up, dress it down, but it's, a great watch. And that's probably the one I would keep.
It's a good choice. I was thinking, that made me think, both of your kind of discussions made me think of like, what is a next kind of like, what's the next watch I want to go after?
Mhm.
And as you all said, like everybody wants Rolex, whatever, and I want to buy more of those too. But I really, really like the old, I guess they're 70s Omega Flight Masters,
Yep.
right? The colors on those subdials are amazing. They look just tits.
Yeah.
And I just really like those. And there's a couple different color variations, and I don't know how many variations there are, but I think the colors on those are really, really cool. They're obviously a vintage, nobody's making anything like that except maybe Timex with some of their weird new stuff.
We have to give Timex kudos, by the way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So they finally woke up and realized they had a heritage.
Yeah.
I remember about, 9 months to a year ago mentioning on this podcast about Timex, and I thought y'all were going to like rake me up with that one side and down the other for even mentioning it. Or maybe it was Kevin, because, that's just what Kevin does. But I'm like, Timex is kind of cool. And now they've really come into their own.
I honestly wish that they would start making the same models they're putting out now, put it in an automatic platform. I would buy them. And they would probably be $1,000 watch, a $1,500 watch, but that would be a fantastic looking modern automatic timepiece, and I'd be all over it. Because there you go, Flight Master. Yeah, those
Kevin loves those as well.
Yeah,
you can still get.
I think we're all on the same page with this. I think that's a great pick, Casey, and now I'm writing it down here. To start looking.
Kevin's been looking for those for a while. He hasn't found one he likes, but
they show up.
Yeah, I like. So you go back to the Timex. Their Everest model is like $30. It's the greatest looking watch for $30 ever. Right up there with Casio. But it's a great looking watch.
Yeah, early on, I probably had 4 or 5 Timexes because they just looked good and they were cheap. And if you broke, you could work on the car. You could do whatever you wanted in them and not worry about it.
Yeah,
correct.
And that's why I may pick up 1 or 2 of them just for that very, very reason, James, is that I can not be wearing my Apple Watch, which is usually my bang around watch, but I can put a real timepiece on, or more real, whatever.
Yeah.
But something that is not an electronic,
Right.
a computer on my wrist,
Yeah.
and bang around and not care because it's $50.
That's why I have
Yep.
my G-Shock. I put it up on Instagram I think last week.
Yeah,
The G-Shock I have is from like 1998, and it still just keeps trucking. It's great.
Well, it's funny. It's all through the 80s. I had a Timex Snoopy watch, right?
I can't believe that.
Just for the hell of it, right? Just to annoy people. Like,
Casey's love of
It
Snoopy.
annoys me. It annoys me.
Yeah, well, that's why I wore it. If it's just, like, dude, you got a Snoopy watch on. Exactly.
Exactly.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. So awesome.
So, Casey,
What?
how's your rally's literally next weekend, man? How's it going?
Yeah, super excited. We got this weekend, and then it's the first weekend of May. It's same weekend as Recluse. James?
No,
Ruckus.
Ruckus is next week. Ruclos is June.
Okay, so Ruckus. So we're actually, they're going to be up in Stanton, Virginia. I'm going to be down in Roanoke. Didn't know that that's the way it was going to be, but kind of exciting to bring two events. I use the term event very loosely on mine, but two Porsche things going on. I'm excited that I'm doing one of them. Been working on the routes. My wife and I are going to drive what I think are the full routes this Saturday and Sunday down in Roanoke. Give it one more kind of get after it, make sure we've got kind of the stops and maybe some picture locations and gas stops and lunch spots picked out. We went a couple weeks ago and picked our lunch spot. We found a great lunch spot in Lewisburg, Virginia. Super excited about that. But we ended up after lunch, we're going off, and James, you know this because you went on the last ruckus that was down in Roanoke. So I'm using Rever as it's a motorcycle app that
it's a tough one.
Users can designate routes on, and they can kind of rate how curvy the route is. And so anyhow, so there's these couple routes picked out, and you're looking at them on the map, and they're like, man, these are fantastic. It's 300 miles. It says it's going to be 6 hours in length. I'm like, man, that's a perfect day's drive, right? And then we get out on it. We get up to Lewisburg. Lunch spot's awesome. I'm like, man, this is the decisions have been made. Like, this is easy work. Well, then we come out after lunch, and we end up in one of the national forests on a gravel road, going 20 miles an hour. And I'm like, all right, this is not going to work. I just, I don't feel comfortable. Like, we were in my wife's Cayman, and the car did fine, right? It's not like we dinged it up or anything like that. But when you're thinking of, 7 or 8 cars in a row, you're really going to have to stretch out. You're really going to have to take it slow. It took us 45 minutes, and we were going, like 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour through this. It was beautiful, but it's like, this is not what you brought your car to the back roads of Virginia to do. So I got on, and I kind of backed out a little bit and kind of figured, all right, I need to be in this area, looked at the routes available, and really used Google in conjunction with Rever, so that the routes that were available, you were able to do the little yellow man on Google Maps and
for
get
the view,
down
the street view kind of thing.
the street view, and make sure it was a real road,
right?
And not gravel. And I've ran into this when I was back 10 years ago when I was doing FJ cruiser stuff and going off-roading. It's hard when you're looking at it on Google Maps. Sometimes you can look at it and it looks like a road and you show up it's gravel. Sometimes it looks like gravel, you show up it's a real road. Is it a fire road? Is it somebody's driveway, which I've run into before trying to do off-roading stuff. So anyway, it spent several hours going through the map to route a good route, deviated from the pre-planned routes on Rever that I could find to kind of make my own thing, make it a little longer, as I found even with my wife in the car who was getting sick, so slowing down. our times were significantly shorter than the anticipated times that the app was giving us.
Really?
And I didn't want to get out and go, all right, this route says 3 hours. We make it through in an hour and a half. Like that's,
Right.
I want to provide a full
And
day.
that
of
happens
driving.
a lot, by the way. It
Yeah,
really
and
does.
I don't want to do that, right? I want to, if you're paying the money to come and I'm supposed to, like put this on, I want to give you your money's worth
Sure.
of driving these back roads. So really spent a lot of time going through, and I think I've got it down. And so we've got some significantly longer routes, a couple 100 miles. But you're moving through at such a pace, as you all know.
Yeah.
The computer or the posted speed limit, when they calculate the time, it's not going to be accurate.
Right.
So it's hard to gauge, though, how far off is it, right? Like if it's posted at 55 and you're doing 70, well, that difference is not very big. But if it's 35 and you're doing 70, that's a significantly less.
We don't condone that.
Don't condone that. That'll
We
be
do it, but we don't condone it.
No, we don't.
That'll be in
No,
my
at 35, at
Yeah.
35, typically you got mailboxes on both sides.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, right? Is scouting those areas of where, all right, we really got to back off here because there are 100 different mailboxes and there's a lady running down the road.
Sure.
And a guy standing in the middle of the street with a pitchfork.
Yep.
Yes.
And
right.
oh yeah, that happens. But you know, there's nothing wrong, Casey, with having a break either. Going through some of these neighborhoods and you just reset.
Yeah. Well, we've got, of course, we're using kind of the Motorola radios like everybody else uses. We got the earpiece this year, so I can actually hear it and utilize
Fantastic.
it. But you're exactly right. There will be certain spots where we back off and say, all right, this is, look around. This is beautiful countryside. Take a moment to not be driving, so focused on the vehicle to look
White
around.
knuckling it.
Where there's a great up and down the mountainside run where you're able to rip. It is Deals Gap, Blood Mountain, esque, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But there at the top of it, there's a turnoff. And like I want to stop at the turnoff because it looks like a beautiful overlook. So I think what I'm going to do is run up it fun, come down the other side fun, and then maybe take a gingerly drive back to the overlook, have people chill out,
Do a photo op, whatever.
30-minute break, pass out some waters, and
or
then
miss the photo op.
yeah. And then go back down the side and head into lunch and do whatever. But it's been trying to figure out the routes has been very fun. I will say I find it stressful because I want people to feel as if they're getting their money's worth, that it's well worth their time in coming. But it has been fun, and it has been fun discovering like basically how to interpret the maps.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's a learned thing because you can just look at it. Oh, it looks squiggly, but in real life, maybe it's not that squiggly. Maybe it's a gravel road or whatever. But finding the little lunch spots, the little one-off gas stations, you stop in Podunk and you all of a sudden bring 8 cool cars, 10 cool cars into it. And, that's fun. And being from Kentucky, I kind of have a sweet spot for these like rural community, like these are low key places that just don't see stuff like this. And as a little kid, that was me in Woodford County. Like anytime you saw a cool car, you just run towards it, right?
Yeah.
And if we can offer something like that, I don't know if we can, but like we're bringing money into the area. We're going to be staying down in Roanoke. We're staying, eating at local restaurants. So I think it's going to be good.
I think Roanoke is a great spot to land, right? So the downtown has some great restaurants. It's historic, easily walkable, right?
We're staying at Hotel Roanoke.
Okay.
So
and that's a killer
cool
hotel.
Yeah.
So, but then, many other of these small cities, once you just step outside of it, it's completely rural and you have these great roads and there's not a lot of people on them. So I always had a good time in Virginia, and the roads I think are fantastic.
Well, we will be spending a lot of time in West Virginia, and that is planned.
Yeah.
At least driving wise, because the the cops are not as strict.
Sure. Sure. Well,
but
what I found in Virginia, God, I'm knocking on wood here, is that off the highways, you're okay. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, you're not going to really have an issue.
Outside of the Blue Ridge Parkway,
absolutely.
around Blue Ridge Parkway, you can see a lot more cop presence, and we passed several that I was a little worried about, but it was fine.
Right. But as far as West Virginia goes, so for Ruclos, last year or the year before, we went to a town, and the whole town shut down the whole main street, welcomed us.
That's awesome.
They loved it, but the mayor came up and didn't know what kind of cars these were.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
when you were saying that you don't see these cars all the time or in all the places, that's cool. And, of course, every kid who sees a car shape that doesn't look like every other car, they just come running.
Exactly.
And again, I don't, Matt, I know you're a Floridian. James, I don't remember where you
say that with disdain.
Yeah. I know you're from Florida.
You're Florida man.
Florida man, yeah.
But I was that little kid. Like as a very young kid before my mom remarried, like I didn't know sports cars. All I knew is like, oh, that's cool. That's different, right? And so I not that we're trying to go out there and show off, because we're just going to drive awesome roads. But if we can bring a little joy and spend a little coin
and some cash,
in these little communities, then let's go for it. Because that we know how rural America is doing right now. It hurts.
To your point, I mean, I grew up with cars. My dad was a gearhead as well, but American muscle. So I knew Oldsmobile 442s and Chevelles and all that stuff. I remember being 7 years old, and there was a little independent German, or I should say import car dealer in Sanford. And the very first time seeing a Carmen Ghia parked out front in like the early 80s, I lost my mind. I thought it was something from, the future. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And I started, loving Volkswagens and stuff then, and have always had a, heart in my heart for them.
Yeah, where I grew up, there, seeing Porsches, it wasn't a thing. I was always, it's really interesting because, you come across people and like, oh man, I've had so many Porsches, and oh yeah, my dad had a Porsche, and it's like, okay, I'm the first generation to do that. Yep. It's like my dad. Yeah, he owned a German car too. It was a Beetle with measles on the front hood because it was rusted, right? So that's as close as I got to a Porsche.
Well, finally, when I got into my teens, our next door neighbor, or lived directly across the street, there was a shop in Orlando or Longwood. It's still there actually. It's called Millennium Motors. It's turned into a pretty much a Porsche dealership now, a used car dealership. But back then in the 80s, it was all exotic cars. So, and he was the manager, so he'd drive home a different Jag or a Lamborghini, or I remember him driving home the Lamborghini LM002. All these really cool stuff that I just never got a chance to see it unless he brought it home. So it was always a good time.
Killer. Hey, did we do a watch check?
We didn't. I mean, I showed what I had on. What are you guys wearing?
Womp womp.
That's all right.
I just got done with a run, so it's good for that.
Yeah, I'm wearing the Explorer.
There you go. Okay, cool. Yeah, and I got my my Ice Panda. They call it Ice Panda even though it's blue. Speed timer.
Well, speaking of watches, what's new on the watch front there, Matt? As far as
I have ordered all the parts. I've ordered all the parts for my next build. They haven't shown up yet, but it's going to be kind of, I think I already talked about it a little bit on the last podcast or alluded to it. I want to do something a little classic. So I found a bronze case that I really liked. I'm going to do a pilot watch. So something a little more subdued, a little, simple in visual.
Yeah. Which surprisingly to me, as James pointed out, that F1 thing that we got this idea from, that IWC pilot watch was what, 2 or 3 of the 10 choices?
I think it was more like 4.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and a pilot's watch, I mean, one of the Icelandic watch I got is a pilot watch, right?
Yeah.
And it's for an everyday watch that you can read at any distance from your face, like a Pilot watch is a fantastic choice.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so
Absolutely.
going a little more classic. Got a bronze case, and I'm gonna get a nice.
Have
not
you
really hunter
received
green,
all
but
these?
have not received the parts yet.
Okay.
So they're still in the mail. So as soon as they get here, I will get it put together, and then we'll debut it on the show.
Well, Trump is going through the bag in the box, making sure.
Yeah.
With his calculator.
I mean, so full transparency, parts did go up in price a little bit. Well, this build was like $120. So they went up a little bit. That being said, I ordered a custom rotor. So I'm going to try my hands at changing out the rotor on the Movement to put a little more dressier rotor and the case back. And the rotor was $20. So really, it wasn't that much more.
How can you bitch about it? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So $120 for all the parts.
I'd like it better at 75, admittedly.
Yeah.
But
but it's fun. Talking about this, we talked about last week when I made the red and black with the Bell and Ross case, and a very nice gentleman by the name of JP reached out to me. So he listens to the program and sent us an email, and I actually sent a YouTube response first, and I reached out to him, and he's just started his own micro brand. Noctua watches.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to this guy.
Yeah, so his name's JP. Got Noctua watches, but he's been. I looked at his YouTube channel. He's been modding watches for quite some time, and then turned his love of modding watches into starting his legit own micro brand.
Good for him.
Got a couple models. They're beautiful. The lume on them are crazy. That's really kind of what it appears that he's going for, is this really bright lume.
So you say that, and that reminds me, the lume thing is on a different level in some of these micro brands. A buddy of mine who I feel like I've kind of pushed him into watches, but he's bought some of these. It's like a knockoff Willard or some of these. Well, they're Chinese micro brand type watches. The lume is unbelievable.
That's radiation.
Yeah. Well, it might be. It might be. And we're in the OR, so we're irradiated anyway. It doesn't matter. But some of the lume is the like latest gen. I don't know anything about lume. But
one of his models, I was on his website, one of his models, and we'll get onto this when we actually have him on the program in a couple of weeks, but literally the entire face, the entire dial is lume.
Oh, wow.
So the entire dial lights up.
The whole dial.
Like the whole dial. The entire dial lights up. So it's pretty crazy. So anyway,
instead of taking out your iPhone to read the receipt at the restaurant, you just flip your watch over and it lights it right up.
Yeah. So anyway, so he's busy. He's getting ready for Vancouver's having their very second, I guess their second only, he says, watch show they've ever had.
Cool.
And he's going to be in the watch show this weekend, showing his wares. But we're gonna hook up in the next couple weeks and have him on the program. And you got a buddy coming on the show too, right, Casey?
Yeah, I think we're actually still going to do it next Wednesday while everybody's out.
Okay, cool.
Just he and I.
That's great.
But I think Alex Jones does the lift for 997s. Well,
cool.
Kind of a lot of different things, but we'll talk about it. But yeah.
Awesome. All right, cool.
But before we go, we haven't done this in a while because nobody drinks anymore, but I am, and Buffalo Trace. And the reason I want to bring this up is because of the flooding that Kentucky experienced a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, pretty devastating stuff. A lot of central Kentucky had some major flooding. This is a picture of Buffalo Trace. If you've listened to the news or read anything at all, like you've heard about it, Buffalo Trace being such an iconic brand that it is, they were shut down for maybe 10 days-ish while the waters receded. Water was up into their tasting room, their gift shop. You can see it here up into a rick house. And they're starting to, the floodwaters have receded most of the way. And the gift shop's back open. And now they're starting to taste or test some of the barrels that came in contact with water. What do you
like taste. You see the guy, he's going, no, I taste soot. I taste mud.
Yeah. But, floodwaters are terrible because they contain sewage and, toxic stuff. So they've got to test them, taste them. I'm sure they're not, whatever. But it is back up and running. I think they're at 75-80% capacity is what they're saying. Product is back out flowing, but some of the most sought after barrels were hit by the floodwaters.
And they're already expensive, so now they've just even go up more.
Yeah, so hopefully these were watertight and no floodwaters got in. If not, then you'd expect to see stuff like E.H. Taylor and Blanton's and stuff really skyrocket. But
I work with the KFC Yum Center in Louisville.
Yeah.
And they got flooded. So it looks like it was like 25 feet or something like that.
It's pretty
insane.
But, these things happen. I know that, Kentucky tends to be flyover country, and just like the western part of North Carolina, right? Like these news stories come up for a week and then they disappear. But these things take months or years to recover from. And so I would encourage anyone to reach out to the charities that are in those areas and donate a little if you can. We're hoping to get out there later this summer and spend some money with them. So I hope that'll be my part. But but Buffalo Trace is back up and running. So don't think that this $30 bottle needs to be $200. It's not that good, but it's good stuff.
Buy it now while you can.
Casey wisdom right there.
Yep. So, well, fellas, that's going to be a show. You guys got anything else before we part ways?
A goodbye.
See?
I'll say one more thing.
What you got?
We're at only 57 minutes.
Yeah, we're good.
We talked about it a little bit last week about how Kevin was going on his little rant about producers charging you before they even make the product. I want to bring up what is it?
EM squared or EM. It's EM squared or is it EM2?
EM squared. Let's go with the EM squared.
I think it's EM squared. Yeah.
Anyhow, they make some great, cool stuff for 997s. I finally got their side skirts and rear diffuser or rear side skirts. I don't know. They go on the bumper on the outside. Awesome product. I'm going to reach out to the guy to see if he wants to come on.
That would be great.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Because his products are really freaking cool. What he's done, he's basically taken 991 side skirts. They didn't really make anything for narrow body 997s.
And that includes the GT3?
Correct.
And then Casey will come to your house, Matt, and install them for you.
I will. They're super easy to install, though. His kit is super cool, and that's really why I want to more talk to
I looked at it.
Yeah.
Because snap-on stuff, essentially.
Yes. Yes.
And he's so smart. He just 3D printed all this. I was looking at the front spoiler because, so for you guys...
Oh gosh, we're now getting to a whole new topic here.
Well, no. But I have a base Carrera, so I have a different front bumper than y'all do.
Right.
And so they don't make a lot of front lip spoilers for the base bumper. And his does. His fits, slots right in. And I'm watching the video and I'm like, I can do that. That's simple.
Yeah, that's killer.
So,
I tell you that the quality of the product is exceptional. The instructions were great. The little 3D printed stuff was great. It showed up when it said it was going to show up. And as we discussed with Kevin last week, like he didn't charge me until he was ready to ship, which is very appreciated in this.
Yeah, kudos.
Yeah. And you can kind of see his mods in it and what he's done. And you're like, dude, this is genius.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. It's like simple little things that he's made it fit our cars. And I think it's really cool. So shout out to that guy. I don't know who he is. He doesn't know who I am, but I'm a buyer. I'm a fan. And I do think that we'll try to get him on because I'd like to talk.
That'd be great. Yeah, because I'm definitely going to order the side skirts and the front lip. I'm waiting till the wrap comes off. No reason to put it on now because then I got to take it off to take the wrap off. So, which will be later this year. But so I dig it.
Excellent.
Probably should order now. Like I said,
yeah, probably so.
Don't they cycle through like he does a run and then?
And then you're on wait list. Not a paid list, right? Like it's a wait list, and then he's
good call.
Send you an email and you got to jump in. So
cool. I like it. So, all right, y'all. Well, thanks for listening. Same thing, whiskeywatchthewheels.com. Head over there. Do like JP, shoot us something on YouTube if you need to, or Instagram. Or
say hello in the 7-Eleven.
And so hello 7-Eleven, like Chad. And Next week, sounds like Casey and special guest will be here. Kevin and myself and James will not be here. We all have things going on, but we will catch you on the flip flop. Bye-bye.